I've been directly involved in the launch of over a dozen multi-site campuses through the churches I've led, and half of them have been in movie theaters. I'm convinced that every church leader should consider using a theater for your next campus or church plant. They're flexible, culturally relevant locations, typically in the center of the community that you're trying to reach. Regal is the only theater company with a dedicated team of full-time consultants ready to help your church launch and succeed in a movie theater. Check out regaltheaterchurch.com for more information on locations your church could use.
Welcome to the unSeminary podcast. Are you looking for practical ministry help to drive your ministry further, faster? Have a sinking feeling that your ministry training didn't prepare you for the real world? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others in pursuit of stuff that we wish they had taught in seminary. Buckle up and let's get started with this week's unSeminary podcast.
Well, happy Monday, everybody. It's Rich Birch from the unSeminary podcast. We are spending this month celebrating church leaders around the world, and today we've got an incredible interview with Yoshi Noguchi. He's all the way from Tokyo, Japan. You're going to love today's conversation. And don't forget, we're doing all this to celebrate the launch of my first book. It's called Unreasonable Churches, 10 Churches Who Zagged While Others Zigged and Saw More Impact Because of It. It comes out November 1st. You can go to unreasonablechurches.com today to get a sample chapter from that. We'd love for you to go over there, pick one of those up. You'll also get on a waiting list to be on the front of the line to learn about the launch of that book. But enough about that. Let's jump in. Today's interview, I love it because we're hearing from Tokyo, Japan, really the heart of Tokyo, and we're hearing some incredible stories about how God is at work there. So thanks so much and enjoy this special Monday edition of the unSeminary podcast.
This is the unSeminary podcast. Stuff you wish they taught in seminary.
Why don't you tell us a bit about Japan? Let's start with Japan. Give us a sense of kind of the spiritual climate. Most of the people that listen in to the podcast are from the States, but I'd love to hear more about Japan.
Okay, I live in Tokyo, and the greater area of Tokyo is about 36 million people live, and less than 1% are Christians.
Wow.
And there are only 1,000 churches in Tokyo.
Wow.
And most of the people I meet is they never heard of the gospel, and they never had the Bible in their hand. And those are people I'm serving and trying to love people and trying to share Christ.
That's amazing. Now tell me, give me a sense. So 1%, that seems incredibly small. That's amazing. What are the kind of predominant faith systems, or what are people's, what's their kind of religious background then?
Okay, most people believe in Buddhist and Shinto. And most of them practice, our culture is very much based on their traditions. So some people, even they don't believe, but, they practice, once a year, they go to shrine and worship and stuff like that.
Right. So, is it primarily kind of a cultural Buddhism, kind of a, like you're saying, it's kind of just infused in the society, whether there's kind of a deep, belief or not.
Most people they don't really they don't believe. It's more like based on it's becoming our culture. Some people don't really believe, but they just follow the customs.
Wow.
So
amazing. So now you're planting a church in Tokyo. Tell us about that.
I used to do youth ministries about 8 years, and I got called, me and my wife, to move to Tokyo and to plant churches. And 5 years ago, we moved, and we start from scratch.
Wow.
We plant a church and planting a community of believers. And first 3 years, I had a job. And I was taking care of elderly people and visiting house to houses. And slowly some people, our friends, start coming over our living rooms and start sharing life and start sharing the gospel. And so 5 years ago we started living in Tokyo with gospel intentionalities.
So you were sometimes that's referred to as kind of bivocational. You were doing this work was paying your bills with, caring for elderly folks, and then you were just kind of relationally building, your kind of up your connections in the community. What did that look like? How were you kind of starting to build those relationships?
Oh yeah, it takes a lot of time because most of the men in Japan are very busy, and they have only time maybe a weekend and a few times a month, and also my wife is always out with my kids. We have a kid and their parents. So my wife and their mothers getting good friend. So it takes time, but less than start living life here. We meet people at the park and we meet people at school, and through there, we try to get a deeper relationship in everyday life.
Yeah, can you tell us a story of maybe one person that you've met? Maybe it's at the park or through a relationship, and give us a sense of how that progressed.
Yes, I started to involve with our neighborhood. We have some government that run our neighborhood, and I just joined their group, and we sometimes we clean up our park, and they asked me to be their team. And so I just, serving our neighbors, and through that I met one of the guy's son. He goes to college, and I invite him to come to our home for dinners, and and then we start hanging out in our living room, and go to movie and all that, and and he sounds like he's very interested to learn more about story of God. So that's we started, after that 1 year of relationship, we start doing the story of God. So
now tell me about that. What did that look like when you started talking about the story of God?
Oh, he really loved the story. He never heard the gospel before, and he really liked it, and he had many questions. And after the story of God, and he really accepted Christ.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then he decided to get baptized.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's very cool to hear.
That's 2 years of relationship.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, in your context, have you moved from to public meetings? Is that a part of your strategy? The thing I appreciate is your patience in this process.
Yes.
Have you moved towards doing, kind of public meetings?
Yes, we first 3 years, we just meet in our house, and we started doing once a month. We start meeting at a bar in our neighborhood.
Okay, cool.
So once a month we start doing gatherings, and so. Wow,
very cool. And what do those gatherings look like?
Just more like equipping saints, equipping Christians. So we, since we have 2 missional communities, we started meeting once a month. All of our Christians come together. Very cool. Since this year, we started doing every week. We just meet.
Wow.
Doing gathering every week. So.
That's amazing, Yoshi. That's incredible. I love hearing that story. What do you think the future looks like? What do you think? Where does your ministry go next? What are you looking forward to in the future?
We love to make disciples who could really plant missional community and living everyday life with the gospel intentionalities. So we wanted to see more communities, missional communities everywhere in Tokyo, so that people could see and people could hear the gospel.
Very cool. When you say people can see the gospel, what does that mean to you?
I mean, Jesus say, if you love one another, they will know you are the disciple of Jesus. So, because in Japan, they never heard the gospel before, and one of the powerful way to proclaim Jesus is first, they have to see the gospel, how much we love and how much we bless the people and how much we care about people.
Very cool. Very cool. And how important is that do you think, for people to understand or see how much you love folks, when such a small percentage of your community knows what the Bible is or knows the story of God? Would you say that's critical?
Oh yeah, very much so. And because like in Japan, especially in Tokyo, there are many other religions and many Mormon and many everywhere. So we wanted to be more wise to how to
Very cool. Well, a lot of the people that listen in fact, the majority of the people that listen to the show are from the U.S. And I wonder if you have any kind of advice or any, kind of a word of wisdom to church leaders in our country about leading from what you're learning in Tokyo.
Yeah, I've been learning, God's been teaching me to be patient. And, we sometimes look for a quick result.
So true.
But making disciples takes whole of our life, And is it okay to not to see any fruit first 2 years or first 10 years and first 20 years, even 50 years? Are we still faithful to cultivate and plant seed?
Oh, that's a good word, brother. I appreciate that. I think we can often we try to microwave discipleship. We try to think what's the fastest way between today and fully devoted followers, but it just takes time. Yoshi, I really appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you or learn more about your church, how can they do that?
Please look for somajapan.com.
Okay, cool.
And you could hear more of our story.
Very cool.
Yes.
Yoshi, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's unSeminary podcast. Don't be shy. We'd love to connect. Check out unSeminary Inbox. You can sign up at unSeminary.com and we'll send you helpful training resources every week. Plus, you'll gain immediate access to our exclusive members area with tons of resources you can use. Connect with Rich on Twitter @RichBirch or through email rich@unseminary.com. Don't forget to check out the show notes for this episode at unseminary.com. It includes links to what we talked about today and more. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Did you enjoy today's episode? Drop by iTunes and leave a review. Thanks again for tuning in to this week's unSeminary podcast. Join us next week when we'll learn more stuff we wish they taught in seminary.